since I assumed office. You will recall that during our first meeting last year, specifically on the 8th of December, I also addressed a press conference during which I intimated you with the huge progress made by the military in the war against terrorism. On that occasion, I called for the cooperation of the media in ensuring that the missing link in the war against terrorism, which is the civilian component, is supplied by sensitizing Nigerians to support and indeed hold the war. I'm happy to inform you that we have since launched the National Security Awareness Campaign and have seen a marked improvement in the way Nigerians perceive the war today. Thanks to the support we have received from the media, especially in this sensitization campaign, I can now tell you that Nigerians have taken ownership of the war against terrorism and are also giving their unbridled support to our gallant military. I commend the media for heeding our patriotic call to duty at a critical time in the life of our nation. Gentlemen, we are here today because of another patriotic call to duty. We want the media to once again lead a campaign to sensitize Nigerians to take possession of another war, this time the war against corruption. There is a wrong impression out there that the war against corruption is being fought only by the president or the federal government or the governing All Progressives Congress. There is a wrong impression out there too that the war against corruption is a vendetta against the opposition PDP, and that indeed it is one-sided. This is not true, and it is indeed very nauseating. Let's take the latest issue of the $2.1 billion arms deal as an example. One thing is clear. Funds meant to fight terrorism were deployed to another fight. That is, the fight to keep them with a good luck Jonathan and his party, the PDP, in power at all costs. So far, based on what we know, no one who has been accused of partaking in the sharing of the funds has denied receiving the money. All we've heard from them are very ridiculous reasons why they partook in sharing of the money. One said he collected 4.5 billion naira for spiritual purposes. Another said he received 2.1 billion naira for publicity. While yet another said he got 13 billion naira to pay someone else for the Maritime University land. Based on these revelations, should we now fold our hands and allow these people to go away with public funds? Is anyone thinking about the innocent soldiers who lost their lives just because they did not get the necessary weapons to fight terrorists? What about the families left behind by these soldiers who were sent to their early graves because of the misappropriation of these funds? What about those who lost their means of livelihood after the terrorists overran their towns and villages? What of the millions of Nigerians, especially women and children, who are now living in the IDP camps? Is it not clear that the cruel fate that has befallen these unfortunate people is a direct result of the misuse of the funds meant to fight terrorists? Are these not the true cause of corruption? Talking about the cause of corruption, gentlemen, it is time we brought into perspective what corruption has done to our nation, our people, and our international image. We must bring to the knowledge of our people how corruption stifles economic growth, It hinders the fight against poverty. It leads to decay in infrastructure and reduces educational standards. How it lowers life expectancy, stops the fight against maternal and infant mortality, and impacts negatively on the general livelihood of the citizens. No one is better placed than you, the media, to lead this change. No one is better placed than you, the media, to lead this charge. And that is why we have come here today, to again rally the fourth estate of the realm to patriotic action. Gentlemen, the situation is there, and the time to act is now. For example, between the period of 2006 and 2013, just 55 people allegedly stole a total of 1.34 trillion naira in Nigeria. That's more than 1/4 of last year's national budget. Out of the stolen funds, 15 former governors allegedly stole 146.84 billion naira. 4 former ministers allegedly stole 7 billion naira. 12 former public servants, both at federal and state levels, allegedly stole over 14 billion naira. 8 people in the banking industry allegedly stole 524 billion naira, while 11 businessmen allegedly stole 653 billion naira. Now, what do these figures translate to in the actual sense? In other words, what is the cost of these stolen funds for Nigerians? Using World Bank rates and costs, if only 1/3 of the stolen funds are recovered, they would have provided 635 kilometers of road, built 36 ultra-modern hospitals, that is 1 ultra-modern hospital per state, built 183 schools, educated 3,974 children from primary to tertiary level at a cost of 25.25 million per child, and to have built 2,062 units of 2-bedroom houses. This is the money that just a few people, just 55 in number, allegedly stole within a period of just 80 years. And instead of a national outrage, all we hear are these nonsensical statements that the government is fighting only the opposition, or that the government is engaging in vendetta. Gentlemen, irrespective of your political, religious, or tribal leanings, and not minding whether you belong to APC, PDP, SDP, or Labour Party, if you have stolen public funds, you will not go scot-free. Everyone and every arm of government must rise up to be counted in this epic war, and defeat is not an option if our country is to survive. As President Buhari says often, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. There's no better way to say it. As I said, everyone and every arm of government must be involved in the fight against corruption, which is one of the cardinal programs of this administration. Irrespective of whatever anyone may say, President Muhammadu Buhari is leading this fight by example and right at the front. His unparalleled integrity, his uncommon love of country, and his undiluted dedication to service all put him in good stead to win this war. And we must all support him and own the war in order to ensure its success. This is not just Buhari's war. It is not just APC's war. It is not a vendetta. This is Nigeria's war. Equally critical to the success of the war is the judiciary. Unless this very important of government fully joins in waging this war, the pending cases of corruption will just drag on until they outlast this administration. In the days ahead, we intend to carry this sensitization program to all the corners of the country, leveraging on the wide reach of the National Orientation Agency. We also intend to partner with other agencies of government, especially the anti-corruption agencies and the police, as well as the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption. As I said earlier, we'll be working closely with the media in this campaign, and we have no doubt that the media will replicate the support they are giving us in the ongoing National Security Awareness campaign. We have no doubt that if Nigerians know the true cause of corruption to their lives and well-being, they will be less susceptible to swallowing the frivolous, self-serving, and orchestrated instructions from the corrupt people and their benefactors and beneficiaries. We must kill corruption before it closes. Gentlemen, this press conference officially kickstarts our national sensitization campaign against corruption. The campaign will run all through the tenure of this administration. I thank you all for this.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, the support for the fight against corruption. And thereafter, you will ask your question. So the floor is open.
We thank you for taking us into confidence in the Nigeria national component of the world in corruption. We have seen respect for rule of law, which the President has sworn to protect, and then sir, in the course of the aggression, and let me investigate that. Because what we're now having now different categories, stakeholders. Now the build is not what is very possible.
Thank you. We'll take one more. Okay, thank you. May I invite the Honorable Minister to respond before we go to the
The truth of the matter is that those who were granted bail were rearrested on other valid charges. This government has the highest respect for the rule of law. I want to assure you. On the question of the 55 people that I mentioned, these 55 people are not ghosts. They exist, and all of them are currently being they're already in court, various courts in Nigeria between 2006 and today. And this is why we are appealing once again to the judiciary that yes, we appreciate the workload they have, but they should please treat these corruption cases with a lot of passion, especially given the damage it has done to the psyche of Nigerians, to our image abroad, and also how it has stunted our economic and social growth. So yes, these 55 people, they are there, they are in various courts, but they've been employing all sorts of strategies, adjournments, medical treatment abroad, sickness. You can see that in recent times, very few of them go to court unaided. They are either on crutches or they are in wheelchairs. They don't fall sick or when they are charged to court. We never know that they are on special drugs or they are charged to court. This is why we are appealing to the judiciary to please also, make sure that all these tricks, uncovered. Now, on the issue of the budget, I think, with all due respect, I think it's probably a matter of communication gap between the relevant, arms of government, and I think it's been very swiftly resolved. What I can assure you is that there's no intention on the part of this government to be fraudulent. We ran a campaign against corruption, we ran a campaign based on transparency, and we intend to maintain that. As you all know, a budget is a draft. It becomes law, and it's not unusual for amendments to be made to draft budget. But I think in this case, there was clearly a communication gap, and I think it's been resolved. Thank you very much. I think the President, in his both his media chat and at various fora, has admitted that yes, we have received and recovered some looted funds, but that it is too early in the day in order to jeopardize further investigations and jeopardize the chance of further recovery to make these things public. Thank you.
Okay.
You see, corruption goes beyond indiscipline. It's actually impunity, but we must be specific. Thank you. Now, I want to answer the gentleman who spoke about double jeopardy. I'm afraid statements like this encourage corruption. You see, we are all victims of corruption. And I've just told you now exactly how this corruption affects my life, affects your life. I've just told you how many hospitals we could have built if only 1/3 of these allegedly stolen funds were recovered. We would have had at least 6,000 kilometers of roads. I'm using World Bank rates and costs. Now, 6,000 kilometers of roads would have made such a huge difference to our transportation problem. We would have had better electricity. Maternal and infant mortality would have gone down. Now you see, when people say they are victims of our fighting corruption, the government cannot close its eyes and allow this to go on. And we must all adopt it and take that because it's affecting each and every one of us. I know that we all have here, we've all had relations who have died because when they got to the hospital, there were no drugs. Or there was no ambulance able to carry them to the hospital. This is why we try to give corruption a face and let the world know exactly the cost to the nation of corruption and how those 55 people have brought the country to its knees. This record I've shown you, I've read, is just up to 2013. Believe me, if we add 2013 to date, we'll talk about nothing less than 3 trillion naira. Now, then there's the question about, apart from fighting corruption, what has this government done? You see, the plan of action of any government will be found in its annual budget. And our budget is before the National Assembly, and in that budget we made it clear that this is a budget that will focus more on infrastructure development. It will focus more on capital projects. It will focus more on employment opportunities, for the youth. It will focus on massive social intervention. And under this budget, we are going to employ 500,000 unemployed graduates as teachers. We are making available 500 billion naira as social intervention. Under this budget, we are going to make sure that at least 30% is capital as against the 15% in previous years. I think our plan of action is very clear. Anybody who has a copy of our project. But why this fight against corruption is very important is that we might not even be able to achieve any of this if we do not take on this war seriously. If we do not block all the leakages, if we do not stop the hemorrhage. Look, I can assure you that even with the bleak world economic forecast, this country can still survive if the war against corruption is waged successfully. We executed a civil war for 3 years and we had no oil. And we didn't have to borrow money. It's about transparency. It's about accountability. And this is why this is very important. You can imagine if only 1/3 of this stolen money were recovered, this country would be a better place today. So please, you cannot divorce this fight against corruption from the dividends of democracy. Because if 55 people only have pocketed over 1 trillion naira, what are we talking about? We must go after them. We must prevent, future recurrence. Because if you don't block these leakages, you are not going to be able to even achieve what you want to achieve in the 2016 budget. Thank you very much. Last question. I think judiciary has a major role to play in this, and also the bar, the lawyers. I think we must put patriotism over and above other interests. If people studying trial succeed in frustrating their trials, then what will happen is that neither will the funds be recovered nor the people on trial will be convicted of no closure. So that is why you can see we are appealing to everybody, the bar, judiciary, to please join hands with government in this fight against corruption. Yes, it's quite frustrating for any government to see its efforts at fighting corruption being thwarted. Now, as to whether the president ought to have sent the congratulatory message to Dixon, I think this president is not in the business of intervening or interfering with elections. When APC won in Kogi, he never sent any congratulatory message. A president has no business. Supposing you send a congratulatory message to somebody and they go to court and it's overturned. Are you going to allow the president again? But clearly, I think it's not the issue that this president believes that the president should be insulated from the conduct of elections or the outcome. That is Mr. Woni raised the issue of whether giving the revelations where some people said, oh, I didn't take money from the National Security Advisor, I took money from the President, whether the former President will be called upon. I think we need the EFCC. We've always said that this government does not micromanage how the war against corruption is being fought. On the issue of the 91 days leave, I actually thought you were talking about maternity leave, and I was shocked that it has been cut from 6 months to 91 days. I would have been the first to put up a placard and say it should be returned. Now, but I think on a serious note, I think it's just some rumors on the internet. And I don't think it's worthy of very serious attention. It's just, we read many things on the internet, and we must choose which we want to believe and which we don't want to believe. We don't know the motive of those who have planted that story there. But I can assure you that Mr. President is going to go on leave at all. He's not going to, we are not going to find it until it will be properly announced to the protocol channels. So I want you to please just dismiss it and ignore it. It's part of the campaign of calumny against the person of the president. Thank you very much.
Press briefing, and that's alleged, after which we